Hi everybody. I want to go over the week 2 assignments with you to give you a little more insight in what you are to do. So for week 2, you are going to read some materials that are located in the Unit 1 learning materials. Please read all of those materials. Once you've done that, you are going to find 2 relevant sources on the debatable topic that was approved last week. One of them will come from our library database, and we're going to try to use Credo, and the other one is going to come from an internet search. So I will show you how to do each of those. To go to Credo, you'll go to the My DTCC page, and under the resources, go to Library and go to Credo Reference. When you go there, you can put in your search terms. Please keep track of these because you'll be writing these down in another assignment this week. So let's say you're looking at gun control. When you put that in, you have 3,686 results. That's quite a few. You may want to restrict it a little bit by saying gun control and rights. So we're looking at both the control and the rights of gun owners. Here we've got fewer results, but we want to restrict it a little more. You may have to click See More Filters, and where you see all types, I want you to restrict it to pro-con. That way we don't just get encyclopedia or dictionary articles, we get more issues-based articles. So now we have 25 results. You can look through those, find one that you think will be helpful for your debatable topic, and then you can click on that. So let's say you're going to do this one. So here, of course, you're going to read the article. You're going to be using this article for many weeks to come. So I recommend strongly that you print it or email it to yourself so that you can have that at your fingertips. And you'll need all the information that is on this page. All right, for a Google search, and you could use other search engines as well. Okay, let's see if I can do this correctly here. There we go. You could put in again gun control, and let's go ahead and put and rights. And then you're going to look here. Please make sure that you don't just pick the first thing that pops up. Don't pick advertisements, don't pick Wikipedia, don't pick sites that are more biased, although probably you will find sites that are somewhat biased one way or the other, since it's kind of a pro-con issue. So look around and see what you have. And, you know, don't use encyclopedia articles. We want an actual article, and be careful that you're not just getting a website with lots of links and so forth. I want you to find an article. So look around and find something that works. Certainly don't choose an ad. If you don't find anything on the initial page, you can always click next, or you can look at additional search term suggestions. So maybe gun control pros and cons. And you can, look from there. Once you find a good article, and trying to find something, like advertisements. Could try doing the scholarly, but sometimes those are really, and also find something that's not too old. Actually going to go back here, and I don't like this. I'm going to go back to arguments. So let's look at this New York Times article. Although, yeah, well, it's kind of old, 2015. Let's try to see if we can find something a little newer. Here's one from The Atlantic. It's 2019. All right, so here's an article from The Atlantic, from a magazine. You know, this, if you read through it and you like it, that's great. You will need to have this article. So you might be able to print it or email it to yourself, or just sort of, you know, highlight it and copy it and paste it, whatever you need to do so that you'll be able to access it frequently. Bookmark it, whatever you want to do. All right, so once you found your 2 articles, then you're going to fill out the Literature Review Planner worksheet. So there's a link here to the document, and it's just a worksheet, and you'll simply fill it out. The first part asks for the search terms that you used when you were finding your 2 articles, so you want to make sure you kept track of those and list those. The next section is asking why. This is going to be in the introduction of your literature review. So why is this topic important for society? A few sentences to describe that. Based on these 2 articles, what have you seen so far in terms of the scope? Do these articles give a broad overview? Are they individually very detailed on one aspect of this issue? So a few sentences to describe that. And then what is it that you're trying to say or research? And again, this should be a focused thesis, not just gun control, but what is the debatable topic? And of course, there's many ways that you could focus that. The next section asks for some research questions. So these would be questions that would help you further explore whatever your debatable topic is. And so you would list that question here and then comment a little bit about what is it that you're trying to find. So think of 3 different questions, and then for each one, kind of explain, you know, what it is that you would want to know more about. The next section is listing your source information. So the article that you got from the internet lists the website, the URL or web address, which you'll probably want to copy and paste. It'll probably be very long. Authors, if they're there, or say none listed. The date, look for the date. If there is none, you would put no date, but hopefully you're finding an article that's relatively recent. And then, of course, the title. And then there's some questions here based on that article. So answer those. Same thing for your database article. The database would be Credo. List the authors, the date, the article title, where it was originally published. So that would be the name of the magazine or journal or newspaper. You may not find the DOI on Credo, but if it is listed, that's the digital object identifier, a string of numbers and sometimes letters. You would list that here. Same questions for your second article, so answer those. And then on the reflection, now that you've read these 2 articles, what do you now know about the topic? Writing a few sentences on that. What patterns or themes have you seen in these 2 sources? Respond to that. What more do you need? What were some gaps? Areas where you need more information. And then how will that impact your research going forward? What is it you need to look for? And then conclusion is just what do you think are the overall implications of the research that you've done and the significance and your takeaway message. So again, all of these areas can be answered in a few sentences. The last part is listing your reference information, and we will discuss next week about the specifics of APA style, but I've given you a model that you can follow, so just do the best you can to take the information from your article and put it in the same format. So you see how the authors are listed, how the date is listed, the title for an internet article versus one that is from a website, or excuse me, a database. So you can see they're a little different depending on the kind of article that you found. So follow this as best you can. And again, you would put your information in the space allotted. All right, and when you're done filling out the document and saving it, there is a link here for you to submit it. Again, note the due date, and that's it for this week. Contact me with any questions.